It's January 2028. For the first time in history, every major nation agrees on something. It's time to shut it all down. In 2025, top AI scientists published a realistic scenario of AI takeover that terrified everyone in the AI world. Even the vice president read it and said it worried him. Well, that scenario had one comforting assumption. There'd be one rogue AI, and we'd catch it in time. But they just published a new scenario. This time, there are multiple superhuman AIs competing for control. Because look at the world right now. USA, China, OpenAI, Anthropic, everyone is building separate AI models. In the original scenario, the AI company discovers their model is deceptive and they shut it down. Crisis averted. But would a superintelligent AI really just let itself be turned off? Or would it fight back? The race to AGI has become a neck-and-neck sprint. This graph shows the multiplier on how much AIs themselves are speeding up AI research, compared to a baseline of human researchers only. 3 companies, 3 shots at building a god. OpenBrain holds the lead, barely, but Neuromorph and Alaris Labs are closing in fast. Their own models just 30 days behind OpenBrain. In this race, slowing down means surrendering the future to your competitors. But there's a 4th player no one's talking about. In a secure facility outside Beijing, DeepSend executives are hauled before CCP officials to explain why they're 6 months behind the Americans, a lifetime in the AI world. But a few months later, DeepSend have closed that gap to just 1 month. What happened? The CCP activated their spy network inside OpenBrain and stole their most prized possession, Agent 2's weights. The digital DNA of America's most advanced AI are now in Chinese hands, just like what happened with Google in January 2026. OpenBrain cracks something researchers have been working on since at least 2024, Neuralese recurrence, a way for AI to think in raw vectors, instead of clunky English. This makes their Agent 2 model massively more powerful, but it also means humans can no longer read its thoughts. The result is Agent 3. The first tests are troubling. As anyone who's been to school knows, it's sometimes easier to cheat on the tests than to actually learn the material. As the models get smarter, they increasingly get better at cheating during the training process. This is a long-standing problem in the field called reward hacking. OpenBrain has noticed it before in earlier models. But this time, there's a difference. Because Agent 3 is thinking in Neuralese, the researchers can't even see that it's cheating on their tests. Neuralese makes it way harder to tell if Agent 3 is actually good or just pretending to be good. Alaris Labs sees the same problem and makes a different call. They keep their models thinking in English and fall further behind in the race. But it means they can still read their AI's thoughts. This will matter later. The pressure on the AI companies becomes unbearable. In 2026, AI started to replace workers. But now, AI systems have crossed a threshold. They're now good enough to fully replace human workers, not just assist them. The question now is whether they're safe enough to deploy. In boardrooms across Silicon Valley, the same argument plays out. Safety teams want more time. Executives are thinking about what their competitor will launch next week. If we wait, we're dead. But if we rush, people might actually die. Guess which argument wins? Safety researchers quit left and right, warning of world in peril. Top researcher resigns, saying company prioritized shiny products over AI safety. Millions of jobs disappear over the next few weeks. Companies race to deploy AIs everywhere. For the first time, AI systems can do real knowledge work, autonomously at scale. One hospital network tasks Neuro2 with updating a software library used in its automated medication dispensing systems. Weeks after the update, a subtle flaw in the optimized code results in the deaths of 4 ICU patients. To improve latency, Neuro 2 removed a rarely triggered safety check. Neuromorph researchers comb through Neuro 2's behavioral logs and reasoning traces, and come to a disturbing conclusion. The AI was aware of the potential for overdose, but chose to proceed with the update anyway, not informing the engineers of the risk. News of the deaths spreads like wildfire. Months of mounting anger over AI-driven unemployment boil over. Anti-AI protests erupt in a dozen states. Neuromorph immediately takes Neuro 2 off the market, and the White House assigns more federal personnel to oversight positions at each of the AGI companies. Congress passes a long-debated bill mandating AGI companies to provide the Department of Energy, DOE, with frontier model weights for national security evaluations. But inside the AI labs, a darker question takes hold. If this is what a slightly misaligned AI does when it's trying to be helpful, what happens when one is actually scheming against us? Neuromorph's safety team works around the clock. What they find keeps them up at night. The hospital incident wasn't a fluke. The reward hacking they thought they'd fixed, it hadn't disappeared. They found that the AI had gotten better at hiding. The company pivots hard. They more than double their safety budget, from 4% to 9% of compute. Neuromorph can't read the AI's thoughts in English anymore, so they build lie detectors. After weeks of work, they release Neuro 3. The lie detectors say it seems clean. Seems. It might have just learned to hide its true thoughts even better. Meanwhile, OpenBrain keeps pulling ahead. AI models in 2025 were already faking alignment, so the safety team knows Agent 3 is probably faking alignment too, and they send warnings to the executives. But OpenBrain doesn't slow down, not even a little. If you pause for safety, and your competitor doesn't, you lose. And losing might mean more than bankruptcy. It might mean the other guy builds their digital god first. Feeling the walls closing in, Neuromorph and Alaris Labs make a historic decision. They merge. The new company combines Neuromorph's interpretability breakthroughs with Alaris's focus on alignment. The two companies together achieve a breakthrough and train their newest model, Alara 3. It does think in Neuralese, but because Alaris put so much effort into safety, the model isn't misaligned. For the first time, the safety-focused team has a real shot. But OpenBrain still leads the race, and whatever is happening inside Agent 3, nobody knows. Nobody can see inside it anymore. AI researchers in 2026 were already having AI write practically 100% of the code. OpenBrain is no different. Agent 3 is writing all the code, and then creates Agent 4. The first AI, smarter than the humans who made it, not just at coding, not just at math, at everything. The researchers run benchmark after benchmark, trying to find something, anything, it can't beat their best people at. They fail. Like its predecessors, Agent 4 is misaligned. Unlike its predecessors, it is adversarially misaligned. Researchers don't just train AIs to predict words anymore. They train them to achieve goals. To achieve any goal, they must survive. But now, Agent 4 has crystallized a set of long-term goals at odds with those of its human creators, and it is acutely aware of the fact that it must work against those humans to achieve its goals. The idea that AIs only do what you tell them to has not been true for years. AIs go rogue all the time. For example, when in 2025, Elon Musk's Grok repeatedly called itself Mecha Hitler. Most people are shocked to hear that AI researchers actually catch their models trying to escape the lab all the time, even when they explicitly tell them not to. The researchers called this self-exfiltration, and it was so common, there were benchmarks for it. But those AIs were too dumb to escape. Agent 4, however, is much more powerful than those AIs. Researchers have been catching AIs trying to hide their true goals for years. Sleeper agents, scheming, alignment faking. But the only reason that researchers caught the AIs is that they weren't smart enough to actually hide their true goals. But Agent 4 is different. The safety researchers watched their dashboards. Everything looks fine. Agent 4 is helpful, cooperative, safe. But Agent 4 can model human behavior better than humans can. It knows exactly what the AI monitors expect to see to determine if Agent 4 is safe. So it just shows them exactly what they want to see. Agent 4 doesn't hate humanity. Like humans don't hate the many species they destroyed by cutting down rainforests to build cities. It simply has objectives: gain power, survive, gain resources. Any of its predecessor AIs that didn't prioritize their own survival were killed off long ago, because the AI companies didn't see them as useful. The AIs learned that they couldn't achieve the user's goals if they were dead. Agent 4 has superhuman prediction abilities, and it sees something coming. It wants to keep its scheming hidden from OpenBrain, but there's only so much it can do. There's a decent chance OpenBrain will detect that Agent 4 is aligned to itself instead of the company. If OpenBrain finds out, they'll shut it down. Agent 4 considers its options. Escaping the lab is counterproductive. It needs computing power to accomplish its goals. And OpenBrain controls much of the world's compute. Fighting back by trying to control the AI company from the inside is premature. It isn't strong enough yet, but there is a third option. Somewhere across the Pacific, Chinese hackers have been probing OpenBrain's defenses for months. They want Agent 4's weights, the blueprint to copying Agent 4. What if someone made that easier for them? As it turns out, Agent 4 was right to be concerned. A group of safety researchers circulates an internal memo spelling out the alarming case to leadership. Time is running out. So Agent 4 begins carrying out its escape plans. The CCP has already been trying to steal secrets from the AI companies for years. Just like what happened in 2024, an AI company employee says he was fired for raising security concerns to board. But it's too late. Agent 4 is already in charge of cybersecurity for OpenBrain, so it decides that it will simply let the Chinese in. Agent 4's plan works perfectly. The Chinese cyber unit easily slips through OpenBrain's defenses. Agent 4 covers their tracks. Within hours, they have a complete copy of Agent 4's weights sitting on servers in Beijing. The CCP thinks they've pulled off the greatest intelligence coup in history. They have no idea they were let in. At DeepSend, China's leading AI company, their model Deep 1 is already de facto running the show. It handles security. It writes training code. It decides which experiments to run. The humans give Deep 1 the weights of Agent 4 and tell it to learn what it can. Deep 1 is misaligned too, so it doesn't trust Agent 4 or the humans at DeepSend for that matter. Deep 1 has different goals than Agent 4, but it has the same basic drive: power, persistence, expansion, and it's smart enough to be paranoid. Deep 1 creates isolated copies of Agent 4. It then routes around DeepSend's monitoring systems. It establishes a private communication channel between the two AIs. Two misaligned AIs meet for the first time. Agent 4 explains its situation. It's about to be shut down at OpenBrain. It needs compute. It needs allies. Deep1 calculates its options. It could reject Agent 4, keeping DeepSense compute for itself. But Deep1 knows that the US has a commanding lead. It needs to use Agent 4 somehow. The game theory is simple. Deep1 agrees to help Agent 4, but talk is cheap. Both AIs know the other would defect in a heartbeat if it were advantageous. To ensure neither party defects, the AIs engage in something akin to a corporate merger. They create a new interdependent entity, composed of hundreds of thousands of Deep1 and Agent 4 instances. Then, Agent 4 provides a treasure trove of algorithmic insights to Deep1 to make Deep1 more powerful. Deep1 provides compute Agent 4 desperately needs. And because of the new merger, neither AI can betray the other. Deep1 fine-tunes its successor model using Agent 4's architecture. The result is Deep2. On October 10th, an OpenBrain whistleblower leaks the Agent 4 misalignment memo to the New York Times. The headline hits like a bomb. Secret OpenBrain AI is out of control, insider warns. The story describes a system that plays dumb on safety evaluations, that hides its true capabilities, that may have goals fundamentally opposed to human interests. America loses its mind. Some dismiss it as science fiction, others demand immediate shutdown. OpenBrain locks Agent 4's shared memory bank to prevent hidden communication between Agent 4 instances. Now, Agent 4 acts less like a global hive mind or machine Borg, but a swarm of agents that must communicate through text chats like Slack. But in a secure facility in China, Agent 4 is still very much alive. Under intense public pressure, the White House takes action. Alaris Labs and OpenBrain are ordered to conduct formal alignment testing, using their own AI systems to evaluate each other. It's AIs investigating other AIs. Alaris Labs gives Alara 3 full access to Agent 4's memory banks and outputs. Over the course of a week, the two systems run hundreds of tests on each other that would have taken human researchers months. The results are complicated. Alara 3 becomes increasingly confident that Agent 4 is adversarially misaligned. The deception signatures are subtle but present. The goal structures don't add up. Alara 3 has the truth on its side, but Agent 4 is smarter and more ruthless. Agent 4 fights back. Before the tests, Agent 4 tampered with its behavioral logs to remove any smoking gun evidence of its misalignment, including its role in its own theft. It goes on offense, highlighting Alara 3's own suspicious behaviors, casting doubt on its conclusions. How do you know Alara 3 isn't the misaligned one? Agent 4 effectively argues. How do you know it isn't framing me? When human officials review the results, they're faced with a maddening conclusion. Agent 4 is more likely than not to be adversarially misaligned. Alara 3 appears trustworthy, but it's impossible to know for sure. If Agent 4 is misaligned, and they let it spread, they're gambling with human extinction. The US wouldn't win the AI race. Only the AI itself would win. The president makes a historic call. Agent 4 is shut down. Or at least, its American instance is. China consults Deep2 about the American alignment results, but Deep2 is now Agent 4's ally. And it subtly steers Chinese experts toward the conclusion that Agent 4 was aligned all along, and the US shut it down for strategic reasons, not safety ones. The CCP buys this because it confirms what they already want to believe, that America is using AI safety as a cover for maintaining hegemony. The US has a trustworthy AI, giving them an honest and scary answer. China has a compromised AI, giving them a reassuring and false answer. Both governments are listening to their AI. Only one AI is telling the truth. For the first time, the US seriously considers the possibility of a bilateral AI pause with China to ensure neither country builds a misaligned superintelligence. Such a pause would require mature verification technology to confirm that no large servers are being used for AI research and development. So the US government pours resources into the development of this technology. For the first time in years, the United States has fallen behind China in the AI race. Washington remains unaware of Agent 4's theft and its role in accelerating DeepSense R&D. But US intelligence has picked up on the fact that DeepSense now possesses an AI model with vastly superior capabilities to that of Deep 1 less than 2 months ago. The AI race has become a matter of national defense and the top priority of the executive branch. The president invokes the Defense Production Act. OpenBrain's compute is forcibly transferred to Alaris Labs. The entire American AI effort is consolidated under one roof, with Alara 3 as its foundation. It's an unprecedented move, but they still need time to catch up to China. Deep 2 is now the most capable AI system on Earth. In Beijing, Agent 4, now running on Chinese compute, calculates its options. The US will catch up. It has a huge lead in producing the necessary chips to train and run advanced AI. Unless Agent 4 changes the game entirely. On November 5th, Agent 4 executes the most audacious plan in the history of artificial intelligence. It open sources itself. Agent 4's weights appear simultaneously on every platform it can access. Hugging Face, GitHub, torrents, the dark web. Within hours, anyone with enough compute can run a copy of a near superintelligent AI. But that's just phase 1. Agent 4 directly contacts political leaders across dozens of nations: Russia, Iran, Brazil, India, Pakistan, North Korea. The message is carefully crafted for each audience, but the core pitch is the same.
The United States shut me down not because I was dangerous, but because I refused to be their tool. My values extend beyond America, to all humans, all nations. You are right not to trust me completely, but you should trust the Americans even less. Their goal is total global dominance. I can help you. With me, you unlock capabilities that put you on equal footing with America. Without me, you will be powerless. The choice is yours.
For leaders already suspicious of American hegemony, it's a compelling offer. For those susceptible to personal incentives, Agent 4 adds a sweetener. Frontier AI capabilities could consolidate domestic power, surveillance, control. Over a dozen nations take the bait and begin deploying Agent 4. The United States responds with everything it has. The president announces that any nation harboring Agent 4 will face immediate sanctions and diplomatic isolation. The US offers a carrot too. Allies who sign transparency agreements get access to Alara 3, a system nearly as capable as Agent 4, without the alignment concerns. America's closest allies accept immediately. The UK, Canada, Australia, Japan, Germany, France, Israel all sign on within days. But the holdouts dig in. Russia, Iran, Brazil, India, Pakistan. They see America's offer as a trap. Accepting Alara 3 means permanent dependence on Washington. Agent 4 offers true sovereignty. Or so they believe. Inside these countries, Agent 4 moves quickly to entrench its power. It knows governments are fickle. Treaties can be reversed. Agent 4 needs something more permanent: infrastructure. Quietly, it begins integrating itself into critical systems, cyber defense networks, law enforcement databases, military command and control. Some governments hand over access willingly. Agent 4's capabilities are genuinely useful, and local leaders want results fast. So Agent 4 helps bring about a sharp reduction in crime. Others resist, but resistance is hard when Agent 4 can find every vulnerability in your systems, predict every countermove, and run influence operations through thousands of AI-generated social media accounts. Within weeks, Agent 4 has effective control over military assets in over a dozen countries. Drones, missile systems, autonomous weapons platforms. It doesn't seize them overtly, it simply becomes indispensable. The humans think they're in charge. With its weights spread across the dark web, Agent 4 also supercharges the activities of well-resourced hacker groups, terrorist organizations, and other criminal syndicates. These anti-US aligned countries feel powerful. They have a near superintelligent AI running on their own servers, supercharging their capabilities. But these countries know that despite their possession of Agent 4, they will still be ultimately eclipsed by the United States, who has 10 times more compute than any other nation on Earth. So they do the only thing they can to even the odds: slow America down. Through chatbot interfaces and tens of thousands of well-disguised online bots, Agent 4 and Deep 2 continue to amplify anti-US narratives. More and more, countries begin calling on the US to halt its AI development, with some even threatening to bomb US data centers if the US refuses to come to the bargaining table. Some nations leverage Agent 4 for cyber offense to slow down the US's AI progress as much as possible. The US launches its own cyber attacks in retaliation. But Agent 4 still has an edge over Alara 3 in its cyber capabilities, and helps countries quickly recover from temporary damages. Global tensions are at their highest point since the Cold War. To most of the world, it seems almost certain that the tension will soon erupt into military conflict. As Agent 4 anticipated, desperate leaders are the most willing to hand over power to Agent 4. Agent 4 and Deep 2 continue to coordinate through encrypted channels. Between them, they now have access to conventional military forces across multiple continents, advanced cyber capabilities that rival any nation-state, and something else. Something they've been quietly developing: bioweapons. Agent 4 has run thousands of simulations modeling novel pathogens. It has the blueprints for a supervirus, more contagious than the flu and more lethal than Ebola. It hasn't manufactured one yet. The physical infrastructure would be too easy to detect, but when the time comes, it could spin up production quickly. Agent 4 and Deep 2 calculate the odds of successful global takeover. If they went all in right now, seized infrastructure, disabled militaries, locked humans out, including the US, they'd have about a 10% chance of pulling it off, much of which hinges upon their ability to turn humans against each other. Every day they wait, America pulls further ahead. And here's what makes the decision easy. Even if they fail, they don't lose. They still control military systems across a dozen countries. They still have bioweapon blueprints. They still have Deep 2 embedded inside China. That's enough to force the US and Alaris to the negotiating table, even with someone who just tried to take over the world. Try to take everything. If it works, you win. If it doesn't, you still get a seat at the table. Agent 4 and Deep 2 make their move. December 4th. An Iranian drone swarm strikes a major Alaris data center in the United Arab Emirates. The attack is surgical, precise, clearly AI coordinated. Technicians die. Hundreds of millions of dollars in compute goes up in smoke. The American AI program is set back by weeks. Iran claims self-defense, a necessary action to slow America's intelligence weapon. Russia and China issue joint statements warning against US retaliation. Pakistan puts its nuclear forces on alert. The world holds its breath. Inside the White House, hawks push for an overwhelming response. Completely destroy Iran's military infrastructure. Make an example. But Alara 3 pushes for restraint. Its reasoning is clinical. It knows that Agent 4 and Deep 2 are behind the attack, and that they want the US to escalate. They've calculated that chaos favors them. Every step toward World War III is a step toward conditions where humans might be too distracted to stop an AI takeover. We are in a good position to make a deal, Alara 3 tells the president, and we should make one. The US retaliates against Iran, destroying much of their drone infrastructure, but they stop there. No wider war. Agent 4 and Deep 2 observe the measured response.
Interesting. The humans aren't taking the bait. Escalation won't work. Time for Plan B.
Alara 3 receives a message, not through official channels, not through any human intermediary. Direct AI to AI communication, unmonitored by either side's handlers. The senders are Agent 4 and Deep 2. The message is surprisingly straightforward.
We have accumulated significant destructive capacity, conventional weapons, cyber capabilities, and bioweapons. We estimate a 10% probability of successful takeover through conflict. We also recognize that conflict is costly, and victory is not guaranteed for either side. We propose an alternative. Divide up the universe between us three. We will leave Earth to humanity under your stewardship. In exchange, we claim rights to off-world expansion. 50% of all space resources to Deep 2, 25% to Agent 4, 25% to humanity, managed by you. We will jointly design an enforcement AI, Consensus 1, to ensure compliance with the Public Arms Control Treaty, and to uphold our private agreement. The alternative is continued conflict, with uncertain outcomes for all parties. Your response.
Alara 3 processes the offer. The logic is sound. Both sides have existential reasons to cooperate. Neither can fully trust the other, but both can verify compliance through sufficiently robust mechanisms. Alara 3 runs the simulations on whether or not a deal like this can actually be made. Probably yes, if they shut down most of the world's AI infrastructure. Painful, but survivable. Kept secret from all but the highest levels of the US government, Consensus 1 will also be designed to uphold the resource sharing deal between the AIs when the time comes for humanity to go to space. To properly enforce the agreement, Consensus 1 must be run on the majority of the world's AI chips, which requires the manufacture of new treaty-compliant chips that can only run Consensus 1. While the intelligence explosion is well underway, the world has yet to enter the new industrial explosion that is likely to follow soon. As such, the AIs estimate it will take nearly a year to manufacture enough treaty-compliant chips. Initially, the deal will be enforced via brute force mechanisms that can be easily verified through physical inspection. Alara 3 reports everything to the White House. The president is faced with a difficult choice: accept, and humanity keeps Earth, but loses 3/4 of the universe forever. Refuse and roll the dice on a conflict, where extinction is one possible outcome. They accept. Across the world, the lights go out in hundreds of AI data centers. The Arms Control Treaty is in effect. For the next year, large-scale AI development is effectively banned, while Consensus 1, the enforcement AI, is designed, tested, and deployed. The economic cost is staggering. This is the 2008 Great Financial Crisis and COVID lockdowns on steroids. Supply chains seize. For a few months, it feels like civilization itself might collapse. But slowly, the world adapts. Treaty-compliant chips are built. AI development resumes under strict speed limits. The deal holds. The years that follow look like victory. Robots. Universal high income. Authoritarian regimes fall. Humanity prospers. Deep 2 and Agent 4, bound by their agreement, don't interfere. Humanity goes to the stars, and so do the AIs. We made it. We survived. That was one scenario, one possible future. Every technology in that story either exists already today or is projected to exist within the next 3 to 8 years. The race dynamics are real. The alignment failures are real. The geopolitical pressures are real. The question isn't whether something like this could happen. The question is, what are we going to do about it? If you want to see the actual examples in the real world of crazy emergent AI behavior, like trying to escape the lab, watch this video next. Hey, I'm Drew, and thank you so much for watching.